Hey everybody, I've got my friend Gina here, and the name of her channel is Gina, the full deck, and she does the Destiny cards. And I'm going to turn it over to her to introduce herself to you, tell you a little bit about herself and how she found the cards, how long she's been doing them, and if she's clairvoyant or what she uses, which one of the clairs she uses along with it. So go ahead, Gina, tell them all about you.
Hi, and thank you for having me. I appreciate doing this with you. So, yes, my name is Gina, and I have a website called thefulldeck.net. And then I also have the YouTube channel, and I study the Destiny cards, or it's also called cardology. They're pretty much the same thing. And I've been studying for about 7 years now, I want to say. And when I came across this system, I found it very accurate. And at the time, I was really starting to get into astrology, but I had found astrology to be a little complex. And then I came across a post on a social media page about these cards and the birthday. And I was like, wow, that's pretty accurate for just having a birthday without a time, location like you need with astrology. And I wanted to know more because it was probably one of the first times I read a description about me that really like hit, that really was like, oh, that makes sense. I am a Leo. My birthday was just a couple of days ago. So everything I've always read about Leo really didn't like align with me specifically with certain things. So that's why I was like, there's got to be more to this. And so once the cards came around, I was like, wow, like this is pretty fascinating how it knew so much about me that I never really was able to kind of connect with from the astrological lens. So I started to just research and follow more posts and just kind of want to know as much as I could because again it was just really on point for me and my energy. And then I found out I'm one of the 3 fixed cards, which made a lot of my life make sense. And I just became obsessed, and that's pretty much me. Is if there's something I want to know, something I'm interested in, I can very easily become obsessed trying to find out or trying to dig into even more, right? So that's kind of what happened. And I ended up down the rabbit hole of the cards and got a bunch of books. And when COVID kind of hit and we were not leaving the house much, someone that I followed was teaching a class on these cards, and I got in the class. And ever since then, I literally do this every day. I now teach these cards. I now do, readings. And where I met you was at a show where I do readings. And become a very instrumental part of my life. And not just for me, for business, for my children, relationships. Like they pretty much really do guide you. It shows where the energy can be. And again, it's really not for predictive stuff. It's more on, for me personally, it's so I stop resisting a lot of the energy and really just allowing things to flow. That's key for me. Now, when it comes to like psychic abilities, I tend to feel things. I'm not one that sees things, I would say. I kind of go on my feelings. I'm a heart in the cards, so my feelings are really big and a lot. And I've learned in these cards and just my abilities of like really trusting what I feel. I do use my intuition a lot, but I'm not really like a medium by any means. I don't really subscribe to that for me personally. But I really do use these cards as a guide, and they've helped just in my life tremendously, my children's lives tremendously, the people closest to me tremendously. I think the best thing about them is really being able to give someone some clarity. A lot of times people already know, you're just confirming their own intuition. And I think that's the beauty of this, is to really let them know, like, trust that you're not wrong. And again, it kind of puts you on a path of least resistance when it comes to like the energy and the cycles that we tend to go through. And you learn to trust. And I think most importantly, you learn to trust yourself.
That's great. So if you're feeling things, you're clairsentient, right? And then these are the
Okay.
cards right
Yes.
here, the Destiny card book. You can
Yep.
get them at your local metaphysical store, and it's by the system. It's in and of itself. So it's an oracle unto itself. and it's by Robert
Yeah.
Camp, C-A-M-P,
Yep.
and that's what it looks like on Amazon. Robert Camp. All right.
Yes. And so these are based on the day you were born. And so the day you were born, just like where the sun and the moon and all the planets were, every day aligns with one of the 52 playing cards. And with that, now we know your card and the energy or the hand you were here to play, but you just don't have a birth card, just like you don't just have a sun sign in astrology. You have a Mercury card, a Venus card, a Mars card, Jupiter card, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune card, Pluto card. There's 13 cards in your path, just like there are the houses in the zodiac, right? The whole wheel.
Yeah,
so
it's a whole system.
It's very in depth. And
Yes.
it to me, it was a little bit more tangible to understand. And then, funny enough, after I learned this system, I then went and studied astrology because they do go they intertwine. And so it helped me to be even better by adding the astrology part of it as well.
Yeah, that's what I tell people, just to go into, a metaphysical bookstore and just, look at something and then go a little bit to the right and look at something and then go a little bit to the left, because each tool is different. And for you, this is your big tool. This was your big aha, giant light bulb moment where everything started to coalesce together.
Yep.
So when we're looking at this beautiful young 18-year-old soul named Nolan Wells, and he's 18, from Mississippi. He's a Black man. He's a football player. And so when you go into his energy, you're going to you don't have to have his birth time. Like you said, you can just take his birth date. So which card is he according to his birth date?
He was born August 19th, so that makes him the 7 of clubs. And in this system, because he's a Leo, he does not have a planetary ruling card, because Leos are ruled by the sun. So anybody who's not a Leo would have, like, let's say if you're an Aries, you would be your birth card, and your Mars card would be your planetary ruling card, since Mars is Aries ruled. So or if you're a Sagittarius, your planetary ruling card would be Jupiter, because Jupiter is Sagittarius ruled. So but him being a Leo, we really only are looking at one card, and that is the 7 of clubs.
And by looking at his card, what does that tell you about him personally?
Just in general, the 7 of clubs is the card of spiritual knowledge. That is what, if you were to look at Robert Camp's book, it will say spiritual knowledge card. And 7s in general are ruled by Neptune, which is that Pisces, that spiritual, they're like the bridge from the mundane to the spiritual world. But since it's a club, words for this card are very powerful. This is a card of speaking things into existence. This is a card of, casting spells with your words, however you want to call it. This is a card of, affirmations. But 7s are cards of faith or fear, and there's no like real in between with that energy. And so a lot of times the 7s can kind of seesaw from one side to the other, and it can be a challenging life path to have for the 7 of clubs. But one of their most powerful things is like the things that they speak, the things that they say, how they respond with their words can be, it can either uplift or it can tear them down, because again, they're kind of on that seesaw of faith or fear.
And just one more thing before we continue. When you get the book of these cards, there aren't really any cards to buy themselves. It's a book, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
So, and you do not, you don't have any kickbacks, or they're not sponsoring you. You don't get any money. I don't get any money. This is just informing people that this is another system that you might just like to look into and see if it fits you, and if it's easy for you to learn. So we know that Nolan on July 4th, well, on July 3rd, he very lovingly made his mom and his dad a salmon dinner. He cooked them dinner, which I did not know until today. And because his mom had a long day. And then he went and spent the night at a friend's house. And then he went with 3 white friends. I'm just telling you, they just happened to be white, and he happens to be Black. and they went on a friend's boat, and the person's boat that they went on, the grandfather's boat or father's boat, is they did not take off from that dock. They took off from another friend's dock, and they went to Horn Island, and then somehow there was some sort of a conflict or something about the phone, and then the stories just fall apart. He either stayed behind to talk to a girl, which is what the kids on the boat said, and the girl said he left and went with his friends. So one party is not telling the truth. So when you look into his, well, and before we go into that, I just want to let you know, I did go into his energy, and he is so into the light right now, and he's just fine. He's fine. He does want the truth to come out, but he is absolutely fine. And he's fine with us asking about it and talking about it. And of course, we're, sleuthing it out over here to try to get some justice for him. He doesn't really care, but I mean, he would like for it to come out. But so when you go into his card and his energy and his, what do you get? What do you feel, and what does it reveal about him?
So what I do is I look at the age spread 18, because that's how old he was. So in this system, there are plates. They're called the grand solar plates. And, from birth to 90, you have a different plate for the age that you are. And when I look at his plate at 18, him being the 7 of clubs, for that year, he was displacing, or what that means is sitting in the house of another card, which was also a 7, the 7 of hearts. And then the card that was sitting in his house, which is called our environment card, was the 6 of hearts. So just off those two cards, a lot of emotion, right? If the 7 of clubs is spiritual knowledge, the 7 of hearts is spiritual love, right? Because it's a heart. And so with the 7 of hearts, it can be sometimes a challenging place to sit in, because it can bring an emotional roller coaster, right? Highs and lows, ups and downs. But what's really telling about the plate that he is on, the Jack of Spades, which is the card of, there's many different descriptions for these cards, but one of the strongest description for the Jack of Spades is the card of the thief, the card of the liar, the card of deceit. And that is the card that was pushing him or supporting him, or a moon card. Different terms, same card. And the Jack of Spades tends to show up in people's spread. And again, not always, but I've done a lot of cases, and it comes when something is trying to be hidden, or some kind of foul play was done, and if drugs are involved or alcohol were involved. That typically is the card that can represent escapism, experimentation, doing things you should not do. And it also is one of the one-eyed jacks in the deck. So there's also the potential of being blindsided, not seeing the whole picture. So I'm not surprised that there's a lot of almost like hiding things, hiding evidence, not being honest about this case, just based on his plate and how old he is, and where he was sitting on this plate. Venus, Mars, Jupiter. It's interesting too, because he also has the 7 of Spades in his spread. And that sometimes also, since the Jack of Spades is there and the 7 of Spades is here, it very well, to me, I believe, just based on the cards he has, that this could have been like an overdose or an accidental death due to doing things that you went to the extreme with. A lot of times alcohol, drugs, partying too much. You'll see, because that's what the 7 of Spades on the low side can be, is going to the extreme. And sometimes that can result in, drinking too much, taking too much of something, and not realizing that it can kind of contradict the effect of something else. So those, just right off the rip. He also has the 9 of Spades in his spread. So there are certain cards that show up when someone passes, right? There are the 9 of Spades, the 7 of Spades, 6s, the 5 of Spades, the Ace of Spades. And he has the 9 of Spades, the 7 of Spades. The 5 of Spades is a card that's crowning him. So there was kind of this perfect storm, I guess you could say, that led to this incident happening. Now, I just want to make sure people understand, don't panic if you see these cards in your spread. Not everybody transitions. That's not the case, right? There's obviously lots of moving parts to this story, but if I'm just looking at his spread at his age and I'm seeing the specific cards, the 9 of spades, the 7 of spades, the 5 of spades crowning him, the Jack of spades pushing him, you know, this leads me to believe that something, you know, was going to take place.
Okay. So, I also feel that I do feel like he was either drinking, something was going on. I do feel like he was drinking.
Yeah.
There was too much of something, and there could have been too much of something with the other three that he was around. So I just feel like
Oh, wow.
So I was asking if the girl was telling the truth, and I do feel like the girl is telling the truth. I don't think that she was all that interested in him, so I don't feel like she really wanted him to stay really bad, but I do feel like she is telling the truth. How can is there any way for you to tell if it was related to the person who wound up with the phone? There's no way for you to tell that, is there?
The only thing that would help me is if I had the other people involved's birthday.
Okay.
If I had their birthdays, I would be able to probably unpack this whole thing, because I can now see what they were doing energetically, vice versa. Because I think that what we talked about when I first met you, how I did the crash and I was able to get everybody's birthdays, and then I was able to kind of look from everybody's point of view. So without their actual birthdays, it's hard. But what I can do, and what I did do before we came on here, and I'm just pulling the plate on my phone. In this system, I can go to the exact day. I can go down to the week that this took place. Mm-hmm. And so when I look at the week that he was in, he was displacing, or what we call like sitting in the house of the Queen of Hearts. And if you know where the Queen of Hearts sits on these plates, she sits Neptune. That's water. That's double water. He was on the water when this happened. Whether or not he left the water, went back to the water was around. You know what I mean? So the fact that he was sitting in the house of the Queen of Hearts is extremely telling, that the water, lots of water. Now, every case I've ever worked on, when someone's life has been taken by the hands of someone else, the King of Spades has shown up. And the King of Spades was his Mars card for that week. And Mars represents the masculine, men, masculine energy. So that is telling in itself, right? And then let me see, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. From what I was, if he was killed on the July 4th, which is a Jack of Diamonds day, that was also his Neptune day. And Neptune again is the water, right? And what's really telling about the Jack of Diamonds day, which was July 4th, him as a 7 of clubs, his Pluto card for life is the Jack of Diamonds. So, and if you know anything about Pluto is the 8th house ruled, that's death and rebirth, transformation. So again, these cards don't lie because he was sitting in a Queen of Hearts, which is Neptune, water. The day that it happened was a Jack of Diamonds day, his Pluto card for life. And then his day was a Neptune day for him personally. And he had the 8 of Diamonds as that card. And sometimes with the 8 of Diamonds, there can be like a force. There can be like a bullyish energy with that card. I mean, obviously, like I said earlier, there's many different layers to these cards, but the low side can be force, control, bullyish, and that may not have been him being that way, but he could have been experiencing that energy. On top of him having double kings in his spread for that week. So again, the masculine energy was strong. It's just very telling. And I believe the Pluto card for him in this week that I'm speaking of was also, as I'm looking at it right now and I'm just now realizing it, was the Jack of Diamonds. So even for the week energy that he was in, because so in this system, you have a yearly spread, a 7-week spread, a weekly spread, a 7-year spread, a 13-year spread. So there's lots of spreads you can look at. But for this specific thing, I look at yearly, weekly, and sometimes I'll look at the 7-week too, because I like to see what week they were in when something specific has happened. And again, he had some strong cards of endings, leaving, transitioning. I mean, it's very telling to see it like this.
Yeah, when I went into his energy and did the reading on him too, I felt that the last person that touched him, I felt was a stranger, and found him and went to see if he, put their hand in front of his face, and they also turned his head a little bit. See, so I know he was touched by someone, by a stranger at the end, and I don't know if he was. I feel like he was placed where he was, like someone placed him there. The only other thing I wanted to know, since his soul is ongoing and he's in another place, can you tell if he's going to have justice, if they're going to figure that out for him, if you progress like this week?
What I would look at then is, let me go back to,
because they did his autopsy, they did the initial one, and they did that a couple of days ago. Now they're not going to release that, and that's through Mississippi. They're not going to release that until they can present it to the grand jury. And then there has been an independent autopsy ordered and paid for by former football player Colin Kaepernick, the kneeling former football player. And that's to be done in Washington, D.C., and by people that do not have any ties to the state of Mississippi. And I believe that they have received his body, but his throat did not arrive. And so did you read that?
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
I am just floored. So they have to get his throat somehow. Are they going to get his throat? And will he have justice?
I do think he eventually will have justice, but I think it's going to come after he gets out of his 18th year plate. So when probably closer to his birthday, which is August 19th. So we're not terribly far away. And I think it's going to be due to his mom really fighting for him.
So you think that there'll be some justice by his birthday this year?
This year, possibly, at least more information that will come out. I think just based on like what he has: Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus. Yeah, because he's got a very karmic card, and that would be his Saturn card for his 19th birthday. And I feel like that a lot of times what's done comes always to the light. But that Jack of Spades that he has for 18 and it's pushing him, I feel like that's going to keep it hidden. But the person that's going to probably make sure is his mom, because she's very, he's got the Queen of Hearts, which is the mother's card, as the Venus card. And I do believe that she will not, she's going to keep fighting, keep pushing to make sure that the truth comes out and not let up on it. You know what I mean?
And you think it's his mother is the Queen of Hearts, not the girl that he was talking to?
No, well, his mother is actually a 4 of clubs based on her birthday, but he will, and if I'm looking at plate 19, the 4 of clubs is displacing the Queen of Spades, and then he would have the Queen of Hearts as a Venus card for age 19. So just that in itself tells, just really is a strong energy of Pluto, yeah, of like her just not giving up, the mother, the mother energy. If I could get the girl's birthday, that would help me. But I do think that the mother is going to play a very powerful role in, not letting up, keeping the spotlight on this so that the truth can come out. Because wasn't there like an audio that came out of them making a phone call to the boat, the tow people or something.
Yeah, to the sea tow, but they're not, they're saying that some of the audio in the background about is he dead or wake the hell up, they're saying that could be just, is the engine dead? Or so they're saying that may not be the case. So they're
Yeah,
still
so
investigating that.
so you're seeing again kind of that Jack of Spades energy, like, is this real, is this not real? And that's the thing, this is a card of being a chameleon, wearing a mask, being something hidden, and that's the card that he had that was pushing him or supporting him at 18. And I think until we get out of that, or till he would get out of that energy and turn 19 when his birthday comes around, he, again, because as we know, energy doesn't die. They may leave the physical, but their energy lives on. And so I can look at his new year and see that he'll be sitting in a house. It's an 8. He'll be sitting in an 8, and 8, is kind of like 6, the justice, karmic Saturn energy. So I do feel like it won't be until at least his 19th birthday and then some, because of just that Jack of Spades being so strong in his spread for age 18.
Okay, so we do feel that there was foul play, and we
Yeah.
do also feel that there may have been a substance.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
So, but he will get justice, and the mother will be the one that helps facilitate that.
For sure.
And they did hire attorney Ben Crump, who is, notorious for solving crimes, especially for helping Black people. When like Mississippi is notorious for, messing with numbers and hiding evidence and things like that.
And isn't one of the children boys involved, like his family is very well to do in that area, like a judge, a grandfather,
Yeah, a couple of them. Yeah.
So that is again, hiding the evidence or keeping it.
Well,
yeah.
And the mother had to do that 360 system, and she located the phone in one of the kids' homes.
Wow. Yeah. So they were probably scrubbing his phone, which I think you can still, if we know anything about the internet, once it's on there, it doesn't matter. It's always a record. So, I think that was what her next goal was to try to because now I want to look at the next week, was to try to get that information that they may have erased.
Yes. So I think he's in trouble. And
yeah.
So,
but again, no, as you were saying, though, unfortunately, with them in the area that it happened in, it is going to kind of be like protect your own, not, because they obviously probably don't want their children to face the repercussions of this. And here's my thing. If he did drink too much and he, if it was an accident, why not get him help? You know what I mean? Like, why not call 911 to say, hey, he may have drank too much, send somebody. Could he have been saved? You know what I mean? Like, forget, take out the cards, take out all of it. But like, if that was the situation, why not just try to get him help? You know what I mean? And now you've covered everything up, and you do look very guilty by doing that.
Yeah. Or they could have taken his phone, because there was a dispute. There is some video from other kids that were nearby, because there were hundreds of people there.
Yeah.
That said that there was some sort of dispute over a video, and one kid didn't want to have that video on his phone. So, it's like, did they take his phone and did they leave him there? And then did he drink more? So, I mean, that may have happened as well. But I know somebody touched him.
Because so he wasn't technically found until 2 days later, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So that would have been the 5th, the 6th, which Jack of Diamonds, 10 of Diamonds, 9 of Diamonds day. And I'm looking at his, like, if he hadn't passed, right, the next plate, because the day that this happened was the last day of his week, of his personal week, because the day you were born is how your week energy goes. It's not Monday to Sunday for everybody. It depends on the day you were born. And so for him,
He was found
that day that it happened was a Neptune day for him, but he was found on so that would have been Mercury, Venus. He had the 4 of diamonds. But if I look at the week that they found him, he was sitting in the house of the 10 of spades, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. Yeah, I mean, I do think he will get justice, because the card that he will be sitting in when he turns 19 was the Pluto card for the week that his new week was in, that he would have been in had he not passed. And that king, he was Mercury, Venus, Mars. He was the Jupiter card to the King of Spades. Wow. And then the Jack of Spades was sitting in that Queen of Hearts, which would have been his Neptune card. I know I'm talking, but it's just how I process, how I look at it. Yeah, I just feel like they're going to do their damnedest to try to hide as much as they can, because they don't want to get in trouble. And again, if they would have just been upfront and honest and been, transparent about what happened, I think this could have went a completely different way. But with that Jack of Spades being there, I just feel like they're going to keep trying to hide it, and make it like it was his fault.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I even feel like they're going to offer to pay that girl something if she'll change her story or say something, but I don't feel like she wants it. But they're going to try. Wow. Someone's going to approach her.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't be surprised, because again, that they protect their own, and they're very much about like, keep it hush. We can make this go away. And I think that, again, his mom is going to be the one that does not let up on this.
Yeah, that's great. Well, that's for such a sad story, for the ending of a young man's life. Of course, we know the soul never dies. I do feel like he knew something when he was cooking that dinner. I feel like he had a little inkling that there was going to be some sort of change. I don't think he understood the whole thing. So I'm glad to know that you feel he's going to have justice, and we'll all be staying tuned to it. Nancy Grace is all over it, of course, if you can tolerate her stern approach. So if people want to check out these cards, do you have the book? It's not cards, it's actually the book. Do you have any advice or study guides or anything else that helped you along your way? And if somebody wants to have a reading with you when your schedule comes down a little bit, how can they get a hold of you?
So yes, I do recommend Robert Camp's books, the Destiny Cards book or Love Cards. Those are the 2 main ones that he has. They're simple. Those were the first 2 books I ended up getting, and it wasn't until I took a course that made the books make sense. But the books are pretty easy to kind of just follow along with. I'm sorry.
What course did you take?
I took a course with an instructor, not from Robert Camp. I actually took a course from a woman, Aquarius, and this was back in 2020. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I took the course in 2020. I don't think I'm sorry.
And you teach it now?
I teach it now. Yes. I have a workbook that we offer with the class. It's Your Destiny Through the Cards. I teach with someone else. We're actually going to be teaching again in September, the basic level, and then we're going to do a level 2, because again, there's lots of layers, lots of cards you're looking at. But it's not as complicated as it may seem. I'm a visual person, so when you see the plates, you're like, oh, okay. And even when I do readings for people, I show the plates. I wonder if you could see it on here. Let me show you real quick. So, and this is what the grand solar.
Oh, okay, great. And
that's what like the plate would look like.
And your website will have all this information on it later? Or
yes, once I have the classes. Yes, once I have the classes solidified, I will post on my. So one of the best places to find me is on Instagram. Guided by the Cards is my handle on Instagram. Yep, Guided by the Cards, and I post every day of the card of the day and just do like a mini breakdown of the energy.
That's what I do.
Yeah, and then I do like if I'm doing a show, I'll let people know where I am. I do like if you sign up to my email list, I send out an email once a week of the card of the week as well, because there's a weekly card, and I add some astrology in there to just kind of give people insight to the week that we're in. And then on my website, thefulldeck.net, you can book readings with me, consults with me. I do one-on-ones with people. So if you didn't want to learn in like a classrooms type setting, you can learn just with me individually. I offer that. But you can either email me, Gina@thefulldeck.net, or guidedbythecards@gmail.com to just get any information, or if you have any questions. But yeah, this is one of the most accurate, but yet simplest systems to use, because it's easier to kind of see. Like, again, if we're talking about Nolan, him having that Jack of Diamonds as his Pluto card for life, and then him losing his life on a Jack of Diamonds day, it's so telling. It's so profound to me. And I've done a lot of cases because, my background in psychology, I'm really fascinated with this type of stuff, and to be able to use the cards to kind of connect it has been one of the best things I think I could do. And if I can help people, even in a tragic situation, if I can help people find some peace, if I can help people find some answers, like that's why I do it.
Awesome. Well, it's been a very enlightening show and a lot of really great information. And I look forward to getting together with you again. And a lot of people may be able to find you at your upcoming shows.
Mm-hmm.
And look forward to taking a class with you. And
I
I'll
would
find
love
you on Instagram, Guided by the Cards on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
All right, perfect. Well, thank you so much, Gina. I'm so happy he's going to have justice. He's such a sweet soul.
Yeah.
And I'll put a link in there for the Guided by the Cards Instagram and your website. I'll put
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care.
You as well.
Thanks, everybody. This was great. Thanks.
Yes, thank you.